Welcome to DNW by Karuna. Every day, the modern world consumes an enormous amount of energy. Cars moving on highways, airplanes flying across continents, cargo ships carrying goods between countries, and factories producing everything from electronics to clothes. Almost all of these systems depend on one resource, oil, and a very large portion of that oil comes from one region of the world, the Middle East. But the real story is not just about oil production. The real story is about influence. Because decisions made in this region can affect fuel price, global trade, and even international politics. Sometimes a single event in this region can move markets across the entire world. So, the question we are exploring today is simple but very important. Why does the Middle East control global oil politics? And why do countries thousands of kilometers away closely watch what happens here? To understand this, we need to look at several connected factors: natural resources, energy trade routes, global oil markets, and the way energy connects economies around the world. Oil beneath the desert. When many people imagine the Middle East, they think about deserts and extremely hot climates. But beneath those deserts lie one of the most valuable resources in modern history: oil. Several countries in this region possess enormous oil reserves. Countries such as Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, and United Arab Emirates hold some of the largest energy reserves in the world. Because of this, global energy supply has depended on this region for decades. But simply having oil underground is not enough. Oil only becomes powerful when it reaches the global market. And that journey is where geopolitics becomes extremely important. How oil reaches the world. Once oil is extracted, it must be transported across the world. Huge tanker ships carry oil across oceans to different continents. However, the routes these ships follow are not unlimited. In fact, many of them must pass through very narrow maritime passages. These narrow passages are known as choke points, and some of the most important choke points on Earth are located close to the Middle East. The most famous one is the Strait of Hormuz. This narrow waterway connects the Persian Gulf to the ocean. Every single day, massive oil tankers pass through this route carrying energy supplies to the rest of the world. Because so much oil flows through this narrow passage, even small disruption can affect global energy markets. Oil prices can react quickly, shipping routes may change, and government may start paying closer attention. Let me ask you something. Before watching this video, did you already know how important this narrow water route is for global oil supply? You can share your answer in comments. Why global power watch this region? Because energy routes pass through this region, the Middle East has attracted global attentions for many decades. Major economies depend on stable energy supplies. Countries like India, China, Japan, and South Korea import significant amount of oil. A large portion of those imported originate from the Middle East. That means economic stability in many parts of the world depends on uninterrupted oil supply from this region. If tension increases or shipping route becomes risky, energy markets respond very quickly. This is why global powers carefully monitor events happening here. Influence. Oil politics is not only about production, it is also about supply management. Several oil producing nations cooperate through an organization called OPEC. OPEC works as a coordination group where member countries discuss oil production levels. When production increases, global supply rises and price may stabilize. When production decreases, supply becomes tighter and price often increase. Because many key members are located in the Middle East, the region plays a major role in influencing global oil markets. This means decisions taken in the region can impact energy prices across the entire world. Even small production adjustments can influence market. Now I'm curious about your opinion. Do you think oil will remain the world's most important energy resource for the next 20 years, or will renewable energy replace it faster than expected? Share your thoughts in the comments. Important global energy routes. Apart from Strait of Hormuz, another major maritime routes are also connected to the Middle East energy trade. One important route is Suez Canal, which connects the Red Sea to the Mediterranean Sea. Another key passage is the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, linking the Red Sea with the Indian Ocean. These routes allow oil tankers to move efficiently between Asia, Europe, and other regions. If any of these routes become unsafe or blocked, ship must travel longer distance, and longer distance means higher transportation cost. Higher transportation cost eventually affect the global price of energy. That is why maritime security in these areas is extremely important. By the way, some of you often ask where I research and analyze these geopolitical topics. Sometimes videos cannot include every detail, so occasionally I also share deeper written breakdowns on my blog, where I explain global events with maps, timelines, and additional context. If you enjoy understanding geopolitics in a simple and structured way, you might find those articles interesting. Link is in the description. Energy demand around the world. Another reason the Middle East remains strategically important is global energy demand. Even today, oil continues to power many critical sectors of the global economy. Airplanes require aviation fuel. Shipping transportation goods rely on fuel. Heavy industries depend on petroleum based products. Because of this, global demand for oil remains strong. And since a significant portion of oil supply comes from the Middle East, the region continues to hold major geopolitical importance. Here is another interesting question. Which country do you think depends the most on Middle East oil today? Let me know what you think in the comments. The future of energy. Many countries are investing heavily in renewable energy, technologies such as solar, wind, and electric vehicles. These technologies are expected to expand significantly over the coming decades. However, transforming the global energy system takes time. Transportation systems, heavy industries, and global logistic networks still rely heavily on oil. Because of because of this, oil producing regions will likely remain influential for many years. At the same time, several countries in the Middle East are also diversifying their economies. They are investing in technology, tourism, finance, and renewable energy projects. This means their role in global economies may evolve, but their strategic importance is unlikely to disappear quickly. When we look at the bigger picture, the influence of the Middle East comes from several interconnected factors: large oil reserves, strategic energy shipping routes, influence over global supply through organizations like OPEC, and the continuing global demand for energy. Together, these elements create enormous geopolitical influence. That is why events in this region often have global consequences. Fuel price, shipping routes, economic stability, and even diplomacy can all be affected by developments here. In geopolitics, power does not always come only from military strength. Sometimes it comes from controlling resources that the world depends on. For the modern global economy, oil has been one of those resources, which is why the Middle East continues to play such a central role in global oil politics. If you found this explanation useful, consider subscribing for more geopolitical breakdowns and global strategy discussion, because understanding the world today help us understand where the future might be heading